Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the podcast. Well, actually, just welcome because this would be your first time watching me do this, even though this is my second time doing a podcast. Um, that's relevant though, because last podcast topic has nothing to do with English 1. It was 8th grade algebra, even though algebra is a freshman class. Anyways, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, good night, whenever you're watching this. I hope you've been having a good day, or that you will have a good day, and that this is entertaining enough, also educational. I need that too. Anyways, today's episode topic is, let me pull it up. It's really nice. It's a lot better than slope. Tell you that much. Anyways, today's episode theme or topic, or whatever you want to call it, is the power of words and their ability to inspire change. Great, right? Well, you, the viewer, probably Miss Garcia, but the viewer, audience, you may be wondering, hey Sophie, why is this relevant? What does this have to do with anything? Why do we still need to talk about this in big ol' 2024? Well, I'll tell you. People have been forgetting that their words mean things. But a lot of people actually keep remembering that. I have a little thing I'd like to say in a second, but let me get over with the rest of this. Anyways, it is relevant now because a lot of people recently, especially with the rise of social media and being able to hide behind a computer screen, have been forgetting that their words mean things. There are consequences to their actions, and no one is talking about it. Which is upsetting in its own right, but, you know, that's. We're not talking about the negatives. We're talking about the positives, right? So, moving on from that, it's relevant because we can still learn from words. We can learn from people's voices, from writing, text, books, poems, speeches, movies. There are a lot of good educational movies, a lot of good regular movies that for some reason just hold oddly deep messages. Video games. The entire conversation at the end of Minecraft is actually very heartfelt for a game about blocks. Yeah. Anyways, that little personal thing I was talking about a few seconds ago. My best friend, a few days ago, can't remember how long, but it was a few days ago. I was talking to her, and she's not one who gives advice often. Usually that's my job, but she could tell I needed it. I needed a little push, a little shove in the right direction. So she told me, "Hey Sophie, we live on a little blue dot," and I was quite confused. And she said, "You don't have to worry about anything." And I asked her again, "What do you mean by that?" She sent me a picture, and it was the Earth, but from the view of a different planet. And it was a tiny little blue speck in the middle of a bunch of black. And she said, "That's Earth." That's our little blue dot. We are tiny compared to the rest of the universe. We're tiny compared to our own Earth. We, as people, are just tiny little parts of one big whole. And she said, because of that, I didn't have to worry about the things that I did. I didn't have to worry about anything. I could say what I wanted, I could do what I wanted, I could be who I wanted. That was her point. But the words alone, her message behind it, was beautiful to me. And it made a very nice, positive impact. And funnily enough, that morning, because she told me that night, that morning, my father, while driving me and my cousin to school, my cousin was complaining about having to take her history benchmark. She said she didn't want to do it, but that it meant she wouldn't have to do a lot afterwards for, classes and stuff. So it wouldn't be all that bad because I brought up the fact that I wanted to take a nap after finishing my English benchmark, um, which I didn't actually get to do, unfortunately. But, who cares? Anyways, he told us that once we realize as people that we are just, little ants that can talk, we'd be a lot happier. And I have been thinking about that all week. So those two things alone, that one day, was quite impactful for me. I think it was a Monday. They were quite impactful for me. It had a positive impact. And my friend Evershy's words definitely changed the way that I saw things, which was just a really good example of what I'm talking about today. So, um, without further ado, I think we should get on with the first segment. So, segment one, the power of language. Sometimes speaking hurts, whether typing or writing or talking. Communication hurts occasionally, but sometimes people forget that we can use our words for good just as much as we can for evil, which would be really helpful if more people remembered that. Yeah, the world would be a much better place. Um, anyways, I think that it takes nothing to be kind. Um, uh, it takes nothing to care. And, in my opinion, it shouldn't take that much to think before we speak, but I do go to high school with a bunch of teenagers, so I question that sometimes. Maybe it's a little hard for some people. Uh, maybe just a little. Um, for example, I bet you've heard Martin Luther King's "I Have a Dream" speech. I mean, practically everyone's heard it, right? I would hope so. Kind of have an entire day about him. Um, so I would hope someone, like everyone, would have heard it at least once. Um, that speech impacted many lives. Impacted lives the day that he gave it, and it has continued to impact the lives of a bunch of members of society since. And I think that's wonderful. I think that's beautiful. One man managed to start an entire movement that changed laws, stop segregation. That's amazing, isn't it? I think so. I think it is. Anyways, my next example. I'm gonna be bringing a guest actually, and I'm gonna ask her how Sojourner Truth's speech, "Ain't I a Woman," impacted her. I don't. I don't have a guest. I lied about that. Yeah, I don't have a guest. I will talk about this though, um, because it did impact me. Uh, Anyways, I heard uh Sojourner, I believe that's how you pronounce it, Sojourner Truth's speech, A and I Woman, for the first time in 8th grade, I believe. Um, I was shown a video of Kerry Washington performing the speech during my first period U.S. history class. Um, it was wonderful to me. Uh, a lot of the other kids weren't paying attention because that class was filled with mostly like football boys, and they were all talking to each other, and you know, we weren't paying attention. I wasn't either for a while, but then I started paying attention because I heard a woman talking, and it caught my attention because it was loud. Um, and so I looked up and I watched the video, and it was very nice. It was passionate, and Kerry Washington did very well in reciting it. But the part that like how do I say this? The part that I thought about most were her words. If the first woman God ever made was strong enough to turn the world upside down all alone, then these women together ought to be able to turn it back and get it right side up again. That right there made me sit and think and listen to Miss Washington with pride. Truth's words were right in 1851 when she gave that speech. They're right now. They're right especially now. Anyways, segment 2. Words in action. People like Martin Luther King, Abraham Lincoln, Teddy Roosevelt, Gandhi, people like them inspired change in many different groups. Like, for example, Abraham Lincoln and his Gettysburg Address. That letter, that letter changed society, just as Martin Luther King's speeches did. With the Gettysburg Address, we later got the freedom of slaves, which the topic itself had caused a full war, civil war, right? Without the Gettysburg Address, it probably would have taken much longer to free the slaves. And President Lincoln did all of that with a little letter. Starting to see how powerful words can be. Isn't that crazy? Like, he just wrote a letter, and that changed a bunch of people's minds. He, like, stopped a war later because he wrote a letter. That's great. That's crazy. If you're wondering at all, hey, how can I use this stuff to my advantage? How can I use this stuff to make an impact? How can I use my words to make an impact? Do not fret, my dear. I've got you covered. Here are a few tips you can use to make your words have a positive impact on others. First and foremost, know what you're talking about. You can't just have you spewing nonsense. That won't help anyone, If you're just saying things to say things. People do that a lot, and it's very rarely helpful because they're very rarely right. It's a lot easier to spend time on something and get it right than it is to just start saying things and convincing a bunch of people that you're right when you're not, because then you have to deal with the aftermath of lying to everyone because you pretended that you knew what you were doing. So, yeah, research a little if you're going to try and convince someone something, or if you're going to talk about something, like activism. I would hope you know about what you were fighting for. Yeah, learn about your cause. Second, get your words out. Write letters, use social media as a platform. That's a really good way to get your words out because everyone is on social media. You know, TikTok, YouTube, TikTok especially. Like, that's probably the easiest because people watch anything. People will watch any. I can, like, I'm speaking from experience. People will watch anything. So just like make it entertaining enough and people will watch it. Um, you can spread positive messages messages. You can spread positive messages, um, and spread awareness about your topics, your you know things you're fighting for, just things you want people to know. You can even go out in public if you want and just speak. Someone ought to listen to you, right? You just like stood up somewhere, started saying things. Someone's gonna listen. Someone's gonna think about what you're saying because obviously, if you're talking about it, it's important to you. So it ought to be important. So someone will listen. Yeah. Um. Yeah. Those. I mean, obviously, there's things in between that, but those two things definitely will help you. You know, those two things will get the ball rolling, so you can make an impact, and then whatever you find has worked best for you, you can just keep going with that. It's easy. It's easy when you get the hang of it. You just have to have confidence and you know what you're talking about, and people will listen. Alrighty, last segment: choosing your words wisely. Now, I know I mentioned it just a bit ago, but really, you have to be aware on what you're talking about. You can do this. You can get knowledge by listening to other people. Taking inspiration from public speakers, going to assemblies to listen to speakers that are talking now, or you can watch videos about speakers who have talked in the past. You can listen to your friends and your family, ask them on their opinions about whatever your cause is, and you can figure out another person's point of view on it, so you can better understand how most people would look at what you're doing. It never hurts, looking for people to empathize with. That's really the most important part of it. Having empathy and knowing how to use it is how you get through to people. That's how you make an impact. It's never going to be about how smart you sound. I mean, to some people it might be. Some people will just hear someone talk with big words and be like, "Oh, they must know what they're saying." But if you really want to make an impact, especially on the right people, um, just know how to get people's attention. Listen to their needs, their opinions, um, and talk about them. Talk about those opinions. And you just try to understand them. That makes sense. You can't talk to people if you don't understand them. That'd be silly. Other ways you can do it is like reading good books, poems, articles, things like that. Um, Things that'll really help you get your thoughts together on things that you want to talk about, because you have to be educated on what you're speaking about if you're gonna speak out about it. Um, you can write blogs if you want. I don't know if people still do that. People still write blogs. I don't know. You can write blogs, articles. I know people still write articles. There's news articles everywhere. You can, you know, do that. You can post on social media, like I said. TikTok is a big one, but you can go anywhere. Just post around, spread awareness. Do your thing. Um, just try to get your message out. It's kind of my point here. Um, Big platforms where you can reach a large audience, like I literally just said, TikTok. Um, that that's a good one. You know, that's an easy way to do it. And now, my friends, to wrap it up, my conclusion: words are powerful, powerful things. They can make or break people. They can be used for good or for bad. It all depends on intention. You got to know how to use them if you want to have a positive impact. You can listen to people who have made positive impacts. You can listen to the people around you that you can trust. You can educate yourself on how to talk, to people. You can always learn how to do better. in everything, of course, but especially with words. No matter how important or unimportant our words become to the general public in the future, someone will always hear you out. You can always make a difference. You can always find a place to make a difference, even if it's something small, like making one person feel different, like the way my friend did with me, right? Or if you can, change a nation or whatever, like Martin Luther King, that'd be amazing. That'd be awesome. If you can do that, then do that because it would be wonderful. You know, someone will always be there to hear you. You just have to find them and never ever forget. You can do it. You can make a change. You just have to try. You have to try and you have to want it. That's exactly how you do it. Have a wonderful day. And end the podcast here. I hope that this was helpful in some way to someone. I hope that it made sense. Feel like I stuttered a bit. Uh, but I hope it was nice. I hope you enjoyed it. Thank you very much. Hope you have a good morning, a good rest of the day, or a good night, depending on whenever you're watching this. Thank you very much for watching.